Well, let's discuss the 10-year anniversary of Muammar Gaddafi's death. We're joined now by ARISE News analyst Mahmud Jega. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Let me take a quote here. We still cling to the past because back then we had security, which is the main thing that's missing in Libya today. And in addition to that, Gaddafi wasn't a dictator, but the guardian of the citizenry. Does it really say much about who Gaddafi was and what has happened 10 years after his death?
It's just that Gaddafi overstayed, having ruled for 42 years. Otherwise, in all the years that he was ruling, up to 10 years ago, Libya had the highest GDP per capita in Africa. It had the best social services and the best welfare arrangements for the people of Libya. It also had a lot of security and it was also very stable. But it's just that Gaddafi overstayed, having ruled for 42 years. When he was overthrown, the last 10 years for Libyans was a nightmare. Civil war, explosions, rival governments, slavery in some areas, terrorist groups, foreign intervention, Turkey on this side, Egypt,
Russia,
and, UAE, Russia here, then the French and the Americans that caused the whole problem, and then the whole of the Sahel region of West Africa paid a very heavy price because all these weapons that he accumulated in his huge arsenal came and are causing problems all the way from Mali to Niger to Nigeria and Chad and everywhere. So it was a disastrous thing. And when we remember that the African Union advised the Western powers not to get involved in the overthrow of Gaddafi in that manner. But they ignored us, they went ahead, and now we are the ones who are paying the price, and Libyans too. I'm sure many Libyans will be regretting what happened.
Let me take another quote. Revolution is meant to bring change for the better. Since 2011, we have seen 10 years of injustice, bombing, killings, and kidnappings. It's been a conspiracy against Libya, but not a real revolution. This is from Muhammad Hamra. Does this paint the true picture of what we are seeing in Libya today, or you have a different view?
Because everything is preferable to the chaos that has been reigning in Libya for the last 10 years. Everything. It's just because one person is dictatorial and all that does not allow elections or does not allow succession. That's better than
what they are
bomb
experiencing
explosions and civil war everywhere. Look at the pictures of Tripoli and Benghazi and Sirte and the other cities, completely ruined everywhere. And nobody is safe. I mean, you can't go to school, can't run businesses, everybody is just running for his life.
And incidentally, the Turkish leader, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is in the country visiting with President Muhammad Buhari. Let's talk about the Turkish connection. Initially, Erdogan had tried to convince Gaddafi to step down and he would provide, safety for him, only to turn later and backed the revolution that happened in 2011. Let's talk about the Turkish,
It was not what you call a revolution. They were rebels, quite all right, but they were essentially armed by the Western powers. And it was only because France and the other NATO powers began bombing Gaddafi's forces that he was overthrown. The United States under Obama supported it but didn't take part in it. But the French, that time under President Nicolas Sarkozy, were in the forefront of the bombing. NATO, I mean, because Turkey is a NATO member state, I'm not surprised that it took sides in all that effort, but they didn't have any proper plan for the succession, and what happened subsequently was absolute chaos.
Chaos. All right. What do you make of the year-long ceasefire and the UN brokered peace process? Let me just add this to it too. Elections are coming up in December. Do you see this starting a new, more peaceful chapter in Libya, or will it be the same or the same?
Well, that ceasefire was the best thing that happened in the last 10 years because it substantially reduced the violence and the fighting, which was brokered by the UN. Now, it is supposed to lead to elections in December, but really not many people are hopeful because all the main combatants in all the fighting and the chaos are the ones that are trying to contest
Khalifa
election.
Haftar, and
General
of course
Haftar.
we hear that Saif al-Islam is, the son of Gaddafi, also plans to throw his hat in.
And that kind of thing, you don't expect whoever loses to accept. Most probably will try to go back to the trenches and resume the fighting, because the bitterness, yes, and General Haftar is so powerful. He is in control of nearly 80% of the country. He even caused problems in Chad. He was the one who sent the rebels that killed President Idris Deby. He's a terrible guy.
Oh, well, some cling to the past. It's interesting when you read the stories of Libya. Some still cling to the past. Even a journalist agrees that in the past, that is before 2011, there was security, but now wars all over the place.
What's the way forward for Libya, and what role do you think Turkey can play? I mean, recall that Turkey has huge investments in Libya, about $15 billion worth of investments.
Well,
what do you think Turkey can do to?
Well, the most important thing is that all Africans should learn a lesson, because wherever sit-tight dictators like that were overthrown, ultimately it was succeeded by chaos. In Somalia, in Zaire, even in Liberia, and in Libya. Even Egypt was just lucky that they had a very strong military that was able to bring everything together. So Turkey alone cannot solve the problem in Libya right now. It requires the active involvement of the entire international community, specifically the Western powers. The African Union can only talk. It cannot bring peace to a place like that, because the factions are so powerful. It will require some powerful militaries to separate them and subdue them. The African Union doesn't have that resources. Those that created the problem should be in the forefront of solving it. That's the Western powers.
Okay, it's interesting. If you enter Bani Wali, that's what it is called. A huge portrait marks the entrance of that town. 10 years, the people, residents of this town still wish Gaddafi was here. What's your perception? Well, you've talked about it, but maybe you could highlight it again, of his rule and events that led to his killing.
Well, whatever your view was of Gaddafi that time, probably you didn't like him, where he came from, or his sit-tightism. You can't possibly prefer the chaos that followed. Who would want to bring up his children in a situation of absolute chaos like that? That's why I said it's a lesson for all of us Africans. If we don't like situations, by all means, let's try to change them by peaceful means, because going to war against a well-established government like that, you never know what will happen.
In 30 seconds, if you can, Madam Mahmud Jega, the Turkish leader says that those who wanted to oust him are very much active in Nigeria. What are your thoughts on that?
This is the second
Fethullah,
time
what he calls a Fethullah organization.
President Erdogan is saying it. In short, he is trying to bring his political problems into Nigeria. He is referring to the movement led by Fethullah Gulen. Now, those people were his allies for more than 10 years. They were together. They contested the election together. They helped him to win the election. And along the way, they fell out. That's why he's saying this. Then there was this coup d'etat, and he attacked them. He closed their radio, television stations, and everything. But nobody agrees with him that the organization is a terrorist organization. They are the ones that own the Tolib secondary school here in Abuja, and the Nizamiya Hospital, and also the Nile University. And he is putting pressure on the government to
remove their investments.
Yes.
But those investments are very useful to us in Nigeria, and they have not done anything to us. They have been here for 20 to 30 years. They have not caused any problem in Nigeria. Even the United States does not agree with him that they are terrorists, because their leader Gulen is in Chicago right now.
Yep.
Thank you so much. We will leave it there. Politics and what you see. The Mahmud Jega, ARISE News analyst. Thank you for being on the program.